Joining us now to discuss the current scheduling situation for BYU basketball is dual threat analyst, friend of the program, overall good guy, Blaine Fowler. Blaine, welcome back to Studio B, man.
What's up, guys?
We're trying to figure out.
You're trying to figure it out.
Quad 1, Quad 4, RPI,
what the heck BYU
schedule
needs to do to better their chances of putting together a resume that the committee looks at and says, okay, we're going to take a harder look at this. What do you think about everything that we have discussed in terms of what the Cougars need to do with scheduling?
So in the preseason schedule, I don't think that it needs to be a dramatic overhaul because people talk about St. Mary's not being in the tournament, and it's not because of the WCC. It's because of their preseason schedule.
Correct.
But their preseason schedule, Randy's philosophy has been over time, we're not leaving the state of California. And we're really not going to play anybody because if they won't come to our place, then we're not going to go to their place. That's been the philosophy.
Can't do that anymore.
No, so you can't, and they play a ton of home games. So this is a very different problem. BYU's is a two-pronged thing. They need to upgrade the preseason schedule a little bit. But I'll tell you right now, if they had the same preseason schedule they had this year and they finished with the same record as St. Mary's, they'd be hands down in the tournament.
Oh, they'd be a single-digit seed.
Right, and so it's, it's not St. Mary's, but I will tell you this. Moving forward, because we're seeing non-P5 schools getting fewer and fewer bids, so they do need to upgrade it a little bit. They need to play named teams that are more likely to be Quad 1 and Quad 2 over time. Because here's what's hard. UMass, they play this year. And I did a couple of UMass games in the A10. UMass starts like 4 freshmen. 2 years from now, UMass could be a Quad 1 or Quad 2 team.
They're Quad 4 this year,
so they're Quad
RPI.
4. Well, when you schedule them, you don't know that. If you just scheduled Rhode Island 3 years ago or 2 years ago, they were a Quad 4 team 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
They're an NCAA tournament team that just won the A10 this year, right? So what you do, though, is you schedule you schedule a couple more Arizona States, Arizonas, those types of schools that are big name that are more likely 2 years from now to be Quad 1 or Quad 2 teams. But they only need a couple more. The bigger issue is they have to consistently win against the teams, and somebody just tweeted that to you. They can't lose to the non-Gonzaga St. Mary's teams in the league. Gonzaga never does.
We're calling them the other 7 now, apparently.
Yeah, Gonzaga doesn't lose to the other teams, right? So, and they play a little bit more difficult big-name preseason schedule than BYU has. So that's the formula. They don't need to have a massive change of what they're doing in the preseason. They need to tweak it a little bit to add a couple more teams that are more likely to be Quad 1 and Quad 2, and then they need to not lose to teams they're supposed to be in conference.
Can you imagine if BYU, they went 11-2 in non-conference, if they finish 14-4 in the West Coast Conference?
They're in the tournament.
And win 2 games in Vegas, they have 27 wins.
Well, their preseason schedule is good enough to get them in with 27. St. Mary's was not.
BYU played 6 Quad 1 games. Again, Quad 1 meaning an RPI, home 1 through 30, neutral 1 through 50, road 1 through 75. 0-5 in the Quad 1 conference games. BYU needed to get 1 or 2. I think BYU needs to get at least 3 Quad 1 wins, if not 4, to have a chance to get in. Because the committee screamed at us Monday.
Right.
It's not your record. It's not even who you play. It's who you play and where you played them.
Right. Well, BYU got
because
they
the
got
quad,
one. They got one against St. Mary's.
Quads are defined
every
by
once
where
in a while
you play.
there's an aberration though. So I look at St. Mary's and I go, yeah, it makes sense based on the criteria. Then why in the heck is USC not in the tournament?
Yeah.
That one makes no. I know you guys didn't ask Tom Holmoe. I look at that one and I go, okay, now I am baffled. So
we did, and we're not going to tell you.
Yeah, I'm baffled by that one. Right? Is it because they're under investigation? What's the deal on that one? Like, why is UCLA in and USC not in?
Yeah, there's all kinds of nuances, right?
Yeah. But BYU, we all agree that they've got to upgrade slightly in the preseason, and then they've got to be better in conference. And that's the formula to consistently get in. They don't have to win this league to get in, but if they upgrade their preseason schedule and they win against the teams they're supposed to win against, then this is going to be a 2-bid league.
Okay, BYU's still playing this season, I'm told. They are? Okay, against Stanford tomorrow.
This just in.
What does BYU need to do in the NIT to salvage something for this season?
Well, I'd like to see them play closer to the way they played against St. Mary's. They executed really, really well. Now, mentally, I think they exhausted a lot of energy, right? So then they had a tough time against Gonzaga, who's really good.
Everyone does.
Stanford is a really good matchup. They're very similar teams. They got a couple of big guys inside in Travis and Humphreys. I think BYU matches up with their size. I think BYU can play physical. I think BYU can play the half-court game. This is Stanford's deal this year. 4 of their top 7 players are freshmen. So a young team, including Davis, who's their primary ball handler and assist leader, is a freshman. So they're going to have less tournament type experience than BYU. Even BYU is a fairly young team. I think BYU is a little more experienced. Offset that with Stanford's playing at home. This becomes a really, really fun, good matchup. I think BYU has the tools to match up really well with these guys because they have the inside game. I love this matchup of Travis and Yoli Childs inside. This is going to be a fun one. And I think BYU has one more piece on the outside than Stanford does. And to me, that's the difference. So I think BYU wins this one, even though it's on the road in a close ball game, because I think, but having said that, in St. Mary's, I thought TJ Haws was brilliant, right? And then you had the rest of the team playing well, and I thought Nixon was brilliant in that game. So they need 3 or 4 guys to show up and play. They don't have to be as perfect as they were against St. Mary's, but they have to play closer to that than what they did against Gonzaga. And this is a really fun matchup. It really is.
It's a fun time of year with March Madness, BYU spring football going.
Love it.
We're going to need more from you going forward, Blaine, okay?
You got it.
All righty. We'll do it again.
Okay, we'll see you guys.
Thanks, Blaine.